mobile application for Android, and basically it's a simple chess clock. I'm going to show you first of all what my app is about, why I think it's useful, and at the end I'm going to show you how it actually works, and I'll show you what I actually used to build it in terms of code, and then I'll give a short conclusion and my future plans for the development of this application. Okay, so pretty much everyone who knows the rules of chess enjoys playing it or playing it with their friends. Nowadays you can play easily online, and that's cool, but in reality playing on a real board is just more fun, it's more appealing. And while online chess gives you a time limit normally, when you're playing on a real chess board, you need a chess clock which sets certain boundaries for your game so that you can choose how long it's going to be. So, because most people don't own such a device, a chess clock, I built a simple app which essentially just sets the time limit for each player. And so there's some common objections whenever I say this to people. They say, well, if I'm going to play with my friends outside on a real chessboard, I don't need a time limit. That's just, that ruins the fun. But in reality, we don't always have the time for a really long game. And another objection is, okay, I can just use my phone's alarm features, and yeah, you can, but it's just not very convenient. So, first problem that my application solves is that, as I said, people don't own a chess clock most of the time, or they don't like carrying it around with them, but pretty much everyone has a smartphone running Android, and you carry it pretty much everywhere, so that's pretty convenient for you. And I would say the main problem, that's actually why I made this app in the first place, is because the other player takes too much time to make a move when you're trying to get the game over with, when you don't have that much time. And my app pretty much fixes that problem because you don't really have time for over-analyzing your moves. You have a certain time limit, so after the clock is ticking, you pretty much have to go. And there's another problem, which is the awkward situation whenever you make a move, and let's say you turn around and your opponent makes a move, but you didn't see the move, and then there's that confusion where your opponent is waiting for you, you're waiting for your opponent, and it's just a pretty awkward situation. So my app just shows whose turn it is, so there's no real room for confusion. This is more for people that are more serious about chess. In case you want to submit your game to an online database, you can just count your moves as an additional option. This is not really necessary, but it's just an additional option. And it also gives you a sweeter taste of victory in case you want to show that it took you only a couple moves to beat your opponent or lose. And, okay. One thing I noticed in other apps of this nature, that they're usually bloated or filled with ads or something. Sometimes they cost money, but in my opinion, such a simple app doesn't really need to be paid. So my app is free, there's no ads. It relies basically on simplicity as a whole. And lastly, if you're a developer, you can, my application is open source, so you can pretty much do whatever you want with it. You can also submit bug reports to me if you want to, but that's all up to you. The point is you can modify the application as you please. As far as how the app works, it's pretty straightforward. You just set a time limit, and you can enable some additional options, which are just that. They're additional. You don't need to activate them. And once you do that, you just press start, and the game can begin. As far as setting the time limit, you have a range from 5 to 60 minutes. The minutes being the time you get per player, not as, for the game as a whole. So you can either play a really short game called bullet chess or speed chess or something like that, or you can go for a relatively long game, which is around 60 minutes. I haven't set a custom time limit at this point because my app is usually, its purpose is for games between friends, so it's not really intended for super long games. That kind of defeats the purpose. If you have more than 60 minutes per player, you probably don't need this app. And obviously, if you want to, you need to select the time limit before you can start the actual timer. There's an additional option called flip mode, which essentially just flips the timer so that it's more easily visible to the current player. So, for example, if you have to, if you put your phone next to the chessboard in a vertical position, let's say you're white, it's kind of difficult for the other player to see their time whenever it's their turn. So you have to rotate the phone, and that's not very convenient. So essentially what flip mode does is it rotates the screen so that it's more easily visible to the other player. And here's a comparison how black would see their screen with flip mode enabled or disabled depending on if the phone is in a vertical position and placed in front of white. As I said, you can also count your moves. That's just a little bonus, and it makes your game a little bit more official in case you want to submit your game to an online database. And it just makes it easier to track your games as a whole. As far as starting the actual game, once you press the start button, you can no longer change the settings. And the timer obviously starts on white side because that's part of the official chess rules. Obviously, when you click switch, that just means that you're done with your move and it's time for the other player to make move. And the night transparency, that's the image over here, is adjusted so it's more appealing to the human eye and kind of sticks out more. When the game is over, the loser's timer changes to the label Time's Up, and after you click the button New Game, you can once again set the settings as you desire. And as far as quitting the app, I made it so that you have to press the back button twice in case you accidentally press the back button. So in case you press it once, you'll get a notification, asking you, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure it's not a mistake? And you just need to press it 2 times to quit the app. And lastly, you can send feedback to me in case you want to write anything about the app. There's a label on the actual screen of the app which opens up your favorite email app, and the subject is automatically filled, so any feedback is welcome. Lastly, inside the code, I use Java for the functionality and XML for the layout and the design. That's just because that's what Android SDK uses. I also used some of the basic classes, one of them being scroll view, which is used in order to support devices with a smaller display screen. And as I said, my project is open source, so you can reach it. You can find the code of it at this GitHub repository link, and you can modify it as you wish. Lastly, there are some features that I would like to implement in the near future, just the ability to set a custom time limit perhaps, and as well to log information about previously played games, as well as count the wins, losses, or set player names, things like that. So in conclusion, I would say that my application is pretty primitive, but it's efficient and it gets the job done. It's easy to use, and it's portable because you can carry on your phone pretty much anywhere. As far as the actual app, you can download it at this link. It's not very visible, but okay. And that's it. Thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy